This video is all about change and adapting and evolving and thriving. And in fact, this came up this morning when I was talking to one of my coaching clients, and we obviously fell into the cliche that it's not the strongest that will survive, it's often the smartest that are able to evolve, adapt, that will thrive in a new environment. So what I'd like to talk about here is how change can happen, and indeed what you can do practically in order to help you in your career. Hello, my name is Stephen Wright. I'm a career coach here at Career Mentor, and we help high-performing financial services professionals make their next smart career move. So I think the first thing that we need to acknowledge is that you are going to change. I've certainly changed during the course of my career, and people will change generally because they are on a different part of their life. They're in a different chapter, and that change can often happen because they're now gone from a junior person within an organization to a senior person within an organization. It might also be that your values change. What you hold as being most important in life and in your career will change through time, perhaps as a result of a significant emotional event such as starting a family or indeed recovering from a serious illness. So your values are likely to change, and what you hold as being most important will change. Not only that, you'll also evolve, and hopefully you'll gain more skills and more experiences and different ways of adding value to a business, or more ways of adding value to a business. So accept the fact that as you go through your career, you are going to change. And so really what we're talking about here is understanding that in this period of change, adapting to fit with the changing circumstances so that you're happy in your job, you're going to do well, and you're going to thrive is the theme of this. Second thing to say is that, of course, your job is going to change, and that might be because of a number of factors. It might be because what you did once upon a time was a highly prized and well paid for a job, which has now become somewhat commoditized. Or it might be that your employers have decided that we love you and we want you, but we can get probably 90% of your job done by somebody who's going to cost us a third of the price, so I'm afraid we're going to have to let you go. Or it might be that you have, as I mentioned before, been able to evolve in your abilities, and therefore the organization wants to put you into different jobs where they can get you to add more value to the organization, such as management roles and leadership roles and so on. So your job is going to change, but also the environment that your job is going to change, because there are big drivers at play, and those drivers might be wider cultural issues. So you can say perhaps that things like ESG and D&I and so on, those are wider cultural issues which will change your job environment. But also it might be that within your organization you have a new management team that comes in, so the microculture of your organization, the way in which people operate together will change. Indeed, it might also be that the management team decide to have a change of strategy driven by other factors. They may go for a merger, or it might be that we're going to have to change the way in which we do business. The job that you had was once core to our organization, but is now out on the periphery and so less important to us. It might also be beyond strategy that there are regulatory changes such as MiFID II, or indeed changes driven by technology, and AI is the obvious example there. So all of those factors do mean that you, your job, and your environment within which your job, all of that is in constant flux and constant changing. So what we need to think about, well, what can we do about this? What are some things that we can think about practically that are going to enable us to adapt and evolve and thrive for the rest of your career? I think there's probably four things that we can look at. The first is that it might be worth assembling some sort of a dashboard. What are the indicators? What are the flags that I'm going to see to tell me that I need to really pay attention to what's going on? And that many of those are going to be the sorts of things that I've already mentioned. Once you've got that dashboard, then you can start two other things. First of all, you can think about, well, what are the sources that I'm going to get that information from? It might be conversations with colleagues internally. It might be various news outlets. It might be podcasts and so on. It might be all sorts of things that you can do to gain that information, to keep your, if you like, intelligence picture pretty clear about what's happening and how things are going. Second thing to do is when you do see a change, you can ask yourself the question, well, what does that mean for me? And once you've really thought that through, then you can ask the follow-up question and keep digging with what else could this mean? And so you look at the ways in which things might play out and have really good ideas all from your dashboard. Second thing to think about from, and kind of follows on from that, is that you can think about having a dual focus when you're at work. Focus number one is obviously to keep your head down and keep yourself focused on the job at hand, making sure that you're doing all that you possibly can to add as much value to your organization as possible. And so that's focus number one. Focus number two is to occasionally but regularly lift your head up from the grindstone and look towards the horizon, to watch those sources, to understand how the topography, if you like, is adjusting and changing, and therefore you're kind of keeping an eye on things as well. All of this is designed so that you're not on the back foot, so that you're prepared for things when they happen, and in fact you can be on the front foot, anticipating and taking charge of the situation instead of being at the effect of things. Following on from that, we can then say, well, the next thing might be to put in place a plan B. And this is something that I work on a lot with our coaching clients. We really think through all the stuff that needs to be done right now that will stand me in good stead when I need to take some action. Things like networking, for example, or using LinkedIn in such a way that you are getting great results from it. When people are searching for you, you feature very highly in their search, such that people who are looking for somebody with the skills and offer that you have to the marketplace, you get inbound inquiries, so that you always have a sense of choice, that you're staying in touch with that marketplace, and the marketplace is gently inquiring after whether or not you might be prepared to consider things. So making sure that you get those things in place with your plan B, and then thinking through, well, if something did happen, if stuff does change, then what would I do about that? Where would I want to go and work? How would I move with the rising tide, instead of trying to hang on to things which are now fast getting out of fashion and out of what the market wants? Final thing to think about then is, if you are getting indicators from your dashboard that things are changing and that you are going to have to make some changes in your career, either getting more education and qualifications, or making a move to a different firm, or moving internally, whatever the answers might be for you, then before you do that, the fourth point is to clarify and verify before you pull the trigger. So go back to your plan B and examine all the thinking that you did around the strategy, all the assumptions that were made at that time. Do they hold true for now as they did some time ago? Examine or find out if there are any unexamined assumptions that you might have. Talk to trusted advisors and check that your plan is in fact grounded and sensible, and that in fact those indicators are real and not just misreading the situation, misinterpreting the situation. So check, clarify and verify before pulling the trigger. Hope you found that useful. I'll be putting the blog that I wrote about this in the comments below. If you think it's worth it, then please do give me a nice thumbs up. If this would be useful for other people that you know, then please do feel free to share it with them. And if you are thinking about the state of your career, or indeed are involved in a job search right now, then please feel free to reach out. We can easily have a conversation. All my contact details are at the top of my LinkedIn profile in contact info, and it'd be a pleasure to have that chat. Okay, many thanks.